Now, today's sponsors are High Altitude Comedy, Rite of Passage Oats, and our newest sponsor, Helix Coffee. High Altitude Comedy is, of course, a stand up comedy group consisting of two of my closest friends and myself. So, Timmy, Nick, and myself. And we mainly do shows around Summit County, Lake County, and Grant County. But we think now more than ever, people need to laugh. And to to sort of combat a lot of the frustration and tension currently kind of circling the world, we like to remind people that we shouldn't take ourselves so seriously. So this summer we plan on hitting the road, but in the meantime, if you want to check us out, you can do that on Facebook at High Altitude Comedy. We're also on Instagram at High Altitude Comedy. Then our second sponsor is Rite of Passage Oats, which is a vegan and gluten-free overnight oats company owned by me. What started off as a passion project and something kind of just to save myself money has, of course, grown into something so much more, and I am unbelievably grateful. Currently, I am working on finalizing my spring menu, but the mainstays will always be there. I'm super excited for this. I've been doing a lot of R&D in the kitchen and giving out samples, and the feedback that I've gotten has been amazing. As of today, I have finalized the contract. I will be doing drop-in spots at the Leadville Farmers Market at the Ale Yak Beer Garden. I'm unbelievably stoked. That will be Sundays 11 to 3. So if you have any interest, you can also reach out to me on Facebook and Instagram at Rite of Passage Oats. I also have a website, riteofpassageoats.com. You can check out the full menu, learn a little bit more about me if you care, and then, of course, see the spring menu, which, again, I'm super pumped on. Then our last and newest sponsor is Helix Coffee, which also started as a passion project of two of my good friends, James and Meshach, and it has become something so much more. It's amazing. These guys are going to Central and South America and sourcing these beans themselves. They are pouring their hearts into this project, and it truly comes out in every cup, as corny as that may sound. If you have any interest, you can check them out at Helix Coffee Co. on Instagram. And they also have a website, which is helixcoffee.co. So feel free to reach out to them if you have any questions or interest. They do ship. So I'm super pumped. And they also do local pickups if you're in the Summit County or surrounding areas. So High Altitude Comedy, Rite of Passage Oats, and Helix Coffee. Check them out. Worst case scenario, you like it. Best case scenario, you love it. Beautiful people, welcome in for yet another episode of the Homie Love Hour with me, your host, Joe Buck. I'm super pumped. I think this is episode 11, I want to say. And I have an amazing guest here today. Yeah. So I can't even keep a straight face because I'm so excited to get into this and just to catch up with this dude. We've known each other, man, over a decade now. And
Yep.
yeah, it's been a long time. We knew each other in past lives, and we've grown and seen so much and done so much. And through the power of social media, we've been able to reconnect. So today's guest is a father, a husband, a car enthusiast, the master of side quests. We have Mr. Stevie B.
I I don't really feel like I deserve that level of introduction, but I
Hey,
will humbly accept it.
hey, you don't have a choice in it anymore. When you agreed to come on the show, the any sort of being humble is out the door.
It's true. It's true. It's
Absolutely.
expected.
So, Stevie, tell me about your week. How's it been? I know it's only Wednesday, but
It's honestly been an awesome week. Well, professionally, personally, everywhere. I was thinking about that earlier, and to sum it up, somebody said something to me at work today. They said that I leveled up this week, and that honestly feels like a great way to describe kind of how the week's been going so far.
hell yeah. Really stoked to hear it. And anyone who is listening or watching this, whenever that may be in the future, let us know how you're doing in the comments down below. You know, you can DM the Homie Love Hour Instagram page. You can email me, messenger pigeon, smoke signal, whatever. If you don't feel comfortable talking about it over YouTube, reach out to us. You know, we're here to support you. We're here to support one another, and we're here to grow a community. And in order for there to be a community, we need each other. Because if not, I'm just a dude talking to my friend in front of a webcam. Man.
And nobody wants to hear us just yap all day.
I mean, maybe each other, but that would be about where it ends.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So the moniker of the master of side quests. This is something we kind of talked about over Instagram and like all the stuff that we've done to get to where we are today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, when I met you, I kind of felt like you were in the middle of a side quest.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
1,000,000%.
You were working for a certain, what is it, a skate park? They kind of did a little bit of everything back then.
Skate park, music venue, not for profit, ministry kind of thing. But yeah, I was working heading that up, and definitely on that side quest of going out on that first big adventure, like away from home. Just you have nothing tying you down. You've a bachelor. You're free to go off. You've got the tiniest little bit of money that you think is enough to get you by and get settled in a new city. Nobody,
Mm,
and you just show up for a job because you're chasing a dream, and that's what I was doing. I wanted to work in music, and I had an opportunity in front of me to go do it, to go work for Pennies down in South Florida.
yeah.
And, one thing led to another. And I ended up in a position where I was doing more than just being a sound guy. I was being the venue manager and owning the calendar and doing all the in-house promotion and working with outside booking agencies. And uh, I don't know, you spend time there with me. I don't know, you could tell me how special it felt to you,
Dude,
but I felt like we definitely had some good moments we were able to create down there.
oh, absolutely. I mean, I feel like, pretty much after the dugout closed and Solid Sound kind of moved away from doing shows, and then the talent farm shut
Yeah,
down, we didn't really have many venues left.
yeah,
And, I feel like Rocket Town filled that need and that niche perfectly.
yeah.
Like I remember going to shows there and like, whether it was in the small room or the big room, seeing Acacia Strange, seeing Terror, seeing
I
Gaza,
bought tickets to their show in May. I'm going
dude,
down to see them still in chat.
yeah, dude, bringing it back for the Kids Fest, like all of these things that
One
really,
of my favorite show memories is
dude,
is that.
same, like talking to the vocalist of Terror in the bathroom. It was by far one of the coolest but strangest conversations.
Am I completely missing a portion of our relationship history together? Did I used to hire you as like show event security,
Um,
or did I not?
no, no,
Okay.
no. I never officially did security.
I know.
Um,
Okay.
I
Okay. I
just,
don't
I
know. That's
just
why I
came, I
asked,
just
but
came to a lot of shows.
yeah. Okay. Yeah, I knew that for sure. Well, I mean, we're talking about very specific things like here down in South Florida from your history. I know you've talked a lot about that on on the show
Mhm,
before, but we probably need to zoom out a little bit
mhm.
and maybe give the viewer some perspective on maybe the kind of like what we're talking about here in this timeline, what that we're talking about almost 12, 13 years ago, I think at this point
I think it
when this
was
was going
that
on.
it may have been longer because I moved to Orlando in 2021.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think I came.
Oh, I'll tell you right now, I was gone from South Florida in 2011, man. I was back home.
Oh,
I was
sorry,
back home in
not
Nashville.
2021. Oh my God,
Yeah,
2011.
2011.
2011. Yeah, that was when I left.
Yes, yes, brother. We're old.
Yeah,
We're old.
yeah. God, don't remind me. That's embarrassing. Uh,
People call me sir at the gym
oh
now. It's
no.
great.
That's
I love a respectful younger generation, and I hate a younger respectful
yeah,
generation
no,
because yes, thank you for calling me sir, but
dude. It's
right through the heart.
it's kind of funny because like people don't ever seem to know how old I am,
Yeah,
and
yeah, exactly.
my one of my former coworkers was trying to hook me up with another coworker, and she was like, "Yeah, you guys are like similar age," and I was like, "How old do you think I am?" And she was like, "What are you like 26?" And I was like, "Oh,
That's a
yeah." And
compliment.
I'm like,
That's a compliment at this
"Yeah," I'm
point,
like
man.
that youthful exuberance. I appreciate it, but no, I'm not 26. And like even recently, I was doing a show and I was talking to one of the cocktail servers, and we went to the same college, and she was like, "Yeah, we were probably there at the same time." And I was like, I don't think so. She was like, "What are you like, 26 or 27?" And I was like, I told her my age,
Hey,
and she was like, "Oh my god, like you're a decade older than me." And I was like, "Thank you. I now feel horrible." Like,
black don't crack, baby.
dude,
I mean, it's
black don't crack, but that shit sure does crease for some people. Uh,
oh man.
but yeah, so 2011. When did you move to South Florida? Like 2010, 2009?
2000, the end of it would have been in 2000, early late 2009, early 2010,
Mm-hmm.
is when it was, because I had just finished my technical school,
Mm-hmm.
like the trade school that I went to for audio engineering,
Mm-hmm.
and I had been like an intern at the Nashville Rocketown location while I was in that vocational school, so I was getting to essentially go and live. Like, I mean, I spent every single day at that music venue, you know, being a patron from as early as 14 years old,
Mm-hmm.
being in the little hardcore crew
Yeah.
that we had made up in our little suburban town that made it onto the local PD gang list because we tagged a stop sign. Of course, did zero criminal activity, but we were so proud of
Yeah,
ourselves,
they.
doing that, going through that phase all the way up through like a trade school, and working, and learning from like the mentors who, were the guys mixing, the 1500 cap room shows, and, being the touring front of house guy for Between the Buried and Me, and getting picked up, and, a litany of other bands that can be named at this point that, anybody who is into that kind of subculture, counterculture, heavy
Dude.
stuff would probably know the names for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
But so, yeah, it was, that's what I was doing before. And then I had already kind of made those Rocketown connections while going to school there.
Mhm.
and through that internship. And the folks who were franchise like leading the franchise effort down in Florida, they knew there was back channel conversations that were happening, people, talking. I got brought up and proposed. Some interviews happened. I actually got to go on my first miniature tour with
That's,
some great buds of mine, and come down to South Florida and go, meet everybody there, and check off another bucket list item, going on the road for the first time with the band, sleeping in the glamorous 15 passenger van,
yeah,
uh,
that's actually how
eating at Wawa and Sheets.
dude. That's how I actually got to the first Bringing It Back for the Kids festival. I was like, I don't have a ride. My car was like messed up, and Alex Kinney, of all people,
Yeah,
was like, "Yo, can you meet these certain people at this intersection?" And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely." And he was like, "Okay, cool. Meet them here at this time." And I showed up. I can't remember what band it was, but it was a super cool pop punk band. I bought them all snacks, and I hopped in the 15 passenger van, and we drove straight to Rocket Town.
that's awesome.
Dude, so cool the entire time. And I can't remember the name of that band. I'd have to look at the flyer, but I hope those dudes are all doing well with whatever they're doing.
Dude, so many cool stories like that from, the South Florida days. Like I got a ton of memories with Alex because he booked so many shows at my venue,
Yeah.
because he had all of the contacts with all of the booking agencies and stuff. I already had those relationships, and me being, I was green to the industry, but I wasn't stupid. So I was like, I'm not going to compete with Alex
Mm,
for these shows, so why not just partner with him? And so, I had some really good mentors who I was able to, um, kind of lean on in Nashville. A buddy of mine, Wes Breedwell, Reagan Thomas. They both worked at Nashville. They were kind of the lead venue people there, who were always willing to take a phone call from me and just like let me bounce ideas off of them about, like, really strategies to help this fledgling, trying to establish itself music venue kind of make its mark on, South Florida, you know community. And so yeah, getting hooked up with Alex was really cool. One of my he brought what we were talking about before. One of my favorite memories put together that Bringing It Back for the Kids festival, when we
dude,
got to see Terror, and
dude.
you got to hear me tell probably one of my heroes in life, that he could not encourage us to do exactly what we all were there to do, which was stage
No
dive.
stage dives, dude.
And it was the you want to talk about, like, having to just be a yes man and know that, like, if you refuse to do this, you're probably going to lose your job, but it just kills your personal principles. I had to just absolutely eat it and tell, a guy who I personally love stage diving for every single show of his that I go to, hey, don't say this.
Yeah, dude. I remember.
But
I remember the exact scene, the exact moment. He was like, "We don't want to play the big room. We want the small room." And he gets,
and I was so happy he did that. I feel like I could disclose all this stuff now. I'm so happy he did, and I'm so happy that at the end of the night, my favorite quote that me and Travis Nuremberg, who is one of my best friends in the whole wide world still, that I met down there in South Florida with you, uh, Scott was grabbing the mic and calming everybody down, who was super amped for this, because you gotta set the scene for everybody here too. This is Terror in the middle of the Keepers of the Faith album promotion tour. So I mean, this is prime time Terror, like absolute huge draw, and they're in a 900 cap venue. But it's not really a 900 cap stage they're playing. They're playing a stage in a room that's really laid out for like 200, 300 people, and the rest are just kind of smashed into this like offshoot auxiliary room that you're like looking through some gymnasium style
yeah,
double doors to peek around, like, where you're technically in this 900 cap room, this big giant room with a different stage in it. But Scott like demanded that we switch stages around in the order. We like swap the lineup in the day, and so that Terror could play the small cafe stage that has no barricade.
Hmm.
And the venue had a liability policy that was under heavy scrutiny. So there was a business decision made that there was a no stage dive policy at the venue. Whether I personally aligned with that or not didn't matter. It was out of my control, and I liked getting a paycheck. So I had to, Scott had to was not allowed to encourage stage dives. However, he found a very creative solution, which was to scream crawl on each other's
Yes,
heads over
dude.
and over again, just screaming it and watching people literally climb over each other like 28 days later zombies
Yeah.
to try and headwalk and crowd surf in that tiny room. I mean, people were pushing the drop ceiling tiles up out of the ceiling while crowd surfing up to the front and then grabbing onto the line array speaker that was flown in the air in front of the stage to hold onto it and hang on to it. A guy did pull-ups off of it at one point.
Dude, I remember.
That's how wild that night was. Every single person who worked at the venue at one point stopped working and just all started
Oh
moshing and
yeah,
started dancing.
you have to, because like even thinking back on it now, I'm like I'm getting amped because Scott, super cool, and like I remember I didn't have my glasses on, and I can't really see shit without my glasses,
Yeah.
and I'm in the bathroom, and he walks in, and he was like, "Oh my god, I got to take a shit," and he opens the stall, and it's clogged. And he was like, "Man, this is fucking crazy." Like,
2-day festival,
dude,
full sold out,
yeah,
900 people plus 20 plus something bands. Yeah, those
it was
bathrooms were
it was
were
bound to happen.
screwed. Oh,
But
100%. That was probably an oversight by me, I'm gonna be honest, but you know,
I remember him just like kind of being like, "Man, like I wish venues like this existed when I was younger," and blah blah blah, and like I
mhm,
wish people took better care of
I
them.
remember.
And then he walks into the next stall, and he's like, uh, "Excuse me, man. Is there any toilet paper out there?" And I opened up that little closet and I grabbed the roll of toilet paper and I like put it over the door without touching him, touching hands. And I
Right,
was like,
right.
"Oh, that dude's funny as hell." And then he came out in, I can't remember the jersey that he was, that I think it may have been a Death Before Dishonor jersey, but either way, he came out in a jersey. I remember he walked on stage and I was like, "Hey, that was the guy I was talking to in the bathroom." And they were like, "You were talking to Scott? You were talking to Scott? You were talking to Scott fucking Vogel?" And I was like, "Holy shit. I just had a heart to heart conversation with one of my heroes."
Yeah, man.
And
Yeah,
then,
yeah. So imagine me telling him on two separate occasions because they played my venue twice,
yeah,
telling them, no stage dives. That
I remember he shouted me out on stage. He was like, "Shout out to the big homie that gave me the toilet paper." And I was like, "He's talking
dude.
about me." And like I knew what it felt like in that moment to be a fangirl. And then when Scott was like, "No stage diving, no stage diving," he's like, "But crawl on top of each other.
Each other's
Get up
heads.
here and take this mic. Scream your lyrics." And I was like, "Oh my God."
Stay off the stage, but sing with me. Climb on each other's heads, but don't climb on the stage. Stick tight. Get up here. When you got no place to go, I will live by your road. Inside the sound.
Dude, I remember,
But yeah, to give everybody clarity, I'm probably the clip you just saw. Alex Kinney, who we were talking about before, he's the one who put that together. I kind of helped facilitate it, ran the venue side, and that was a 2 day, 900 person festival. We sold out. I think I worked two 18-hour days back to back, I remember, and I capped the day off. I think I got like takeout from Outback Steakhouse, and
Yeah,
I got like I had to get a bloomin' onion and the largest steak they sold and a baked potato, and just take it back to my shitty efficiency or whatever that I lived in, that the nonprofit org that I worked. Not I don't give quotes nonprofit. They were a real nonprofit,
yeah,
but because they were a nonprofit, they were like somebody donated an apartment, a fully furnished apartment, as like a charitable contribution, and that's where I got to live. So like I had a free place to live other than just and it included utilities.
dude,
So other
that's
than
sick.
just like paying for internet to have home Wi-Fi, like my living expenses were just really food and consumable kind of things. And so that's how I was able to survive off basically nothing. Um, was doing stuff like that,
Yeah,
to figure out creative ways to eat cheap food. My wife always gives me she gives me so much crap for the concoctions I would come up with going down to the Winn Dixie and
yeah,
just figuring out silly little macaroni, like the Kraft mac and cheese
mhm,
cups with the yellow or the with the pink hot dogs. I
mhm.
would just cut those guys up and put them together.
Dude.
Just what the cheapest things I could think of. Me now looking back on that nutrition, oh, is cringing. Like it's dying inside thinking about the kinds of stuff that I would eat and put in my body that just to make it. You know.
Dude, I'm not gonna lie. I thought about making a YouTube channel way back in college because I was very poor and I wanted to call it Struggle Meals. But
Yes,
in,
someone did that
yeah,
and put it out on, yeah.
I essentially wanted to treat it like Chopped,
Yeah.
where it was like I would open the pantry and whatever was there, I had to make a meal with it instead of just going out and getting things to be like, this is the struggle meal. It's like, no, I'm opening the cabinets, and if all I got
Yeah.
is ramen noodles and mac and cheese, we're making something happen.
Well, dude, can we take a break right here real quick on our South Florida hardcore scene reunion that we're
Yeah,
having right now?
absolutely.
And like, so you probably don't realize this about me, but I mean, again, the master of side quests that I am, like, I love culinary stuff and I love writing stuff. And so, like, you've kind of shared, both on the podcast and like social media, like, I can understand, like, you have a professional background really in both of those areas. I would love to just hear, but I've never heard you give really kind of just a general professional overview of yourself from that perspective.
uh,
Like fill me in so that I can understand and kind of like understand like what was Joe's professional culinary progression
mhm,
like, really from just like a resume perspective. You've shared a lot of your stories about
mhm.
like, the interactions that you've had at these places, but I'd love to hear, really just that kind of side of your life. Love to learn more about it.
So the writing and food have kind of always gone in tandem. So when I was a kid, my dad had a restaurant. He had a barbecue restaurant in Miami. So I spent a lot of time there as a kid. And then after that, he had a catering company. So we would always help him in the kitchen. But at the same time, I was in a writing program from preschool until high school. So I've actually gotten a few things published, surprisingly. But I started cooking as a kid, with my dad. And then after he passed, um, I started cooking for myself. And my brother and I, we would cook for each other, and then our friends would come over and we would cook for them. And sometimes, I'm so glad my mom doesn't watch this. We would we would skip school and we would turn our house into a restaurant. It was all, we never charged our friends, but
Yeah,
we
yeah.
we would make a bunch of food, and we would have our friends that were, like neighborhood kids that were less fortunate. We would have them over, and we would put tablecloths on our kitchen table, and we would serve them. Like we would put everything on styrofoam plates because we were kids, but
Yeah.
we would make whatever food we felt like making, and we'd serve them food. We'd ask for feedback, and then that was kind of what really sparked an interest in wanting to cook professionally. Um, then as I got older, it was like started cooking for myself. And my first cooking job, I worked at a Tex-Mex restaurant in the student union at UCF, and I hated my boss. He was such a piece of work. Like I could tell you stories, like I can tell you hundreds of stories about this dude just being an absolute sleazebag. But either way, after that, I worked at like a few other like fast casual places, and then my true appreciation for like the finer style of cooking really started when I became a butcher's apprentice. It was my first job paying me above minimum wage. So I think they were paying me like 8.50 an hour, and I was stoked. And I was surrounded by all of these chefs that were all burnt out and nihilistic, but they all really loved food. So we always talked about food, and the art of taking a half of a cow and breaking it down to so many things, and doing the same thing with hogs and chicken and all these things, I thought was equal parts macabre, but also like very masterful to be able to do that. To take this animal and to show it reverence in a certain way, to break it down where nothing is just being thrown away. And these dudes took it very seriously, and it it kind of became like almost ritualistic to do that. And at the same time, it was in a very affluent area, but I was very poor again at the same time. Then I remember I've actually talked about it here where I talked about it on the first episode actually. The one of the general managers and myself got into it because he was sexually harassing a girl. So um,
Mm.
yeah, it was a whole thing. But
Yeah.
uh, at the same time, my girlfriend had broken up with me. So I'm texting her. He's watching me on the cameras. And the next day, after my girlfriend broke up with me, he fired me. And I was like, cool, but just know, like I told you before, it's still on site. If I ever see you, like, there is no talking.
I know we've already moved on past, and I know I'm sorry to
No,
interrupt, but
no.
like I know we've already moved on past like talking about South Florida a little bit here, but I don't want to get too deep into our conversation before mentioning like my first impressions of you, like when I like first met you down in South Florida, and it's you were literally super quiet,
Mm,
but you were a monster and you were giant and you were always around and cool with everybody who were like the regulars and were all of our age because I was way too young to be doing what I was doing. And so I was like the age of all of the people coming to the shows there basically. Um,
mm.
but Joe was scary as hell and moshed hard as shit and smashed so many people.
It's, it's a very different time, and I've put in a lot of effort not to be that person.
I know because I also have to mention that through all of that, uh, I could always kind of like see like a lot of the stuff that you've mentioned and shared on the podcast already is like that tenderness that was kind of there behind your eyes the whole time. I saw that introverted guy who was like there and, making his mark where he wanted to, but still like lacking that self confidence
Oh,
and
yeah,
was still there. But I'll tell you what, dude, we were young and I wasn't very good at making friends then, and I wasn't very good. I wasn't a very good friend then. Uh, but I remember that you were one of the very few people that actually showed up to my going away get together, and there was not a lot of people who uh, that I was really close to because I was the new guy from out of town who had only been there for a little bit, and that meant a lot to me that you showed up to that.
dude, of course,
And I've never forgotten that. And even though we weren't really close then, we're really more acquaintances. Um, we stayed connected through social media over the years, and I really just enjoyed the online persona that you had. With some of the content that you were creating and sharing, and it was humorous to me. I really aligned with a lot of it, but
Mhm.
then I don't know what it was. Call it gravity, call it fate, call it God, but like we just somehow had this social media friendship that kind of blossomed through direct messages and fucking sending reels back and forth and stories back and forth and posts back and forth to each other. Just being social media bros who send stuff to each other, but that really turned into like a very vulnerable, open kind of dialogue over the years of, like you sharing things with me
Mhm.
that you had been struggling with, in regards to like, fitness and lifestyle and,
Mhm.
me confiding in a lot of things with you and giving you feedback and, sharing you a lot of like my struggles and development and stuff, man. And, I'll be honest, it really meant a lot to me. So thank you for taking the time to talk to me on camera
Dude,
and live here in person, after all of that kind of time we've spent communicating just only digitally over the years.
yeah.
I really appreciate it.
Honestly, dude, it's been great. Like truthfully, like I always thought you were too cool to like be my friend because like
And I always felt like an imposter. I felt like I had imposter syndrome until my 30s.
I mean, I've we never truly know who we are, like until I think we kind of hit that stride, and like back then I was angry a lot of the time, and I really loved coming to shows and like getting to know people because it was a whole different lifestyle, and different people I'd never interacted with, or all these things, and I got to have that outlet and to like really be another version of myself that I've always wanted to be. And as far as you, I remember meeting you, and I'm like, damn, this dude seems cool because you essentially had the keys to the kingdom. You know,
Yeah, I did. I
you
did.
had the keys, literally the physical keys to the coolest venue. Like you got to work lights, you got to work sound, you got to hang out with these bands. You knew all these dudes in bands, and I don't know why, but every time I saw you in a windbreaker, I was like, "Fuck this guy," because he looks so cool,
I loved the windbreaker then, and I still love windbreakers now,
dude.
baby.
And like it was really that simple. And like as far as like your going away party, like you know, it to me it's like to send someone off if you have the opportunity, whether you're acquaintances or good friends or whatever the case may be. It's like, why not? Like because truthfully, like you said, you never really know what it means to a person to be there and to support them and to say, hey, thanks for everything you've done. Good luck on the rest of your journey. And like I think about like a lot of the dudes from South Florida scene and kind of where they are now, and you know you're back in Tennessee.
Yep,
Yeah.
back. I'm in. Technically, it's Murfreesboro, Tennessee.
Mhm.
So it's one of the. It's probably like the last suburb, kind of the big suburb before you get into downtown Nashville, coming up from Chattanooga.
Yeah.
So, home of Middle Tennessee State University.
Okay.
Go Blue
There
Raiders.
you go.
I believe that we beat University of Miami in football a couple years ago.
Shit,
Uh,
maybe. But it's cool.
Not that I care about sports anymore. I don't think I've watched sports in about 3 years. So.
Hey, only sport I watch is hockey. But
Speaking of side quests, picked up hockey in my 30s.
there you go.
Learned how to skate in my 30s.
Hell yeah.
Joined a beer league team. Was way in over my head, but still went for it.
Dude, hockey up here is pretty serious. Like we have
Oh, for sure.
we have a minor league team and they're actually in the playoffs right now. Dude, like their games sell out so often.
It's
It's
awesome.
so much fun. Like
I'll be at a game on Monday here in Nashville.
fucking A. Speaking of side quests and speaking of sports, you play T-ball.
Yeah, yeah. Played a lot of t-ball, a lot of baseball, a lot of sports as a kid, man, for sure. They could definitely go down the sports side quests. I've got a billion of them.
Hey, let's talk about like what you stuck with T-ball the longest, right?
Baseball was definitely like my sport of choice growing up for sure. Um, I don't know. I liked it. It was fun. My dad really enjoyed watching it on TV, so the Atlanta Braves were always on the TV in the house. I was decent at it. It was fun. I mean, I was more than decent. I was always like a jack of all trades and the master of none. Like I was always really good, or I was always good, but never like really good.
Hmm.
Just always like above average at everything kind of thing.
Yeah.
But never like the prototypical athlete that you just look at them. There's plenty of guys that I grew up with that have gone on to play in major league sports. And I got to be the same exact age as them growing up playing with them. And I mean, it's anybody who says it's that going to play pro sports is just about hard work, absolutely not. There is some genetics involved in there that when you see those guys play, that like, yeah, he's going to the league. He is the 1%.
Mhm.
I was never that guy, but absolutely love sports. Played t-ball all the way since I was like 4 years old. Refused to even hit off the tee. I was so determined to like hit the ball, that my mom told me. She tells the story all the time. Apparently, I'd rather strike out even at 4 years old than accept defeat and hit off of the tee. But did that for played baseball pretty much 3 seasons a year. Um, you know, all growing up all the way up until the middle of high school, when you know started playing other sports. Played basketball a whole lot. Or a few years in there, not really a whole lot. I definitely the Euro step absolutely dominated me, as well as just absolute lack of agility and athleticism. But uh, the hop step, that one absolutely decimated me. But absolutely loved basketball. I mean, I grew up in '90s Bullet era,
Mhm.
so I mean, you're about to. How old are you?
I'm 34.
Yeah, I'm 30. I'm 35. Turned 36 this year. So
Hell yeah,
you probably have some Bulls. You have some '90s Bulls memories.
dude.
Probably locked away deep in there.
I I don't know if I still have it. My sister might have it. I had a 90. Was it a 90? Oh, goddamn. I can't think of the year. It was when Jordan went to the Olympics when they had the Dream Team. Was that 90?
Yeah.
Was that 96, 94? Whatever year it was.
Now I feel like a terrible basketball fan, but it was definitely like
Either way, we
92, 96,
maybe.
maybe.
But either way, like I have, or I guess now my sister has it, a Jordan Dream Team jersey.
Oh man, when me and my best man at my wedding, Luke Warren, were young and dumb and in college and played a lot of beer pong, we bought matching alt color Dream Team jerseys in the black and gold
No
colorway,
way.
and I got I think I got the Rodman jersey. I think it was like number 6 or number 7.
Hell yeah.
And that's when we would go, and we wore those to a beer pong tournament and called ourselves the Dream Team. And we won.
There you go. Hell yeah. I was going to say that's really all that matters. As long as you clutched it out and you won. If you wore those jerseys and got fucking crushed first round, I'm like, bro, you can never call yourself that again.
No. We defended that self appointed name very well.
We're good.
So
That's all that matters.
but yeah, dude, like played basketball, and Dennis Rodman was like my favorite. Like literally, like so I have all those '90s Bulls memories. I was super young, but like that is one of my core childhood memories. Is like on broadcast TV watching the Bulls run the three break and then three more. And so I don't know what it was. Maybe it was like the inner rebel in me. Like my mom always tells me that my favorite hobby was just towing the line and seeing how far I could push it. And, maybe that plays into like some of the early things I was drawn to. But like, I loved Dennis Rodman, and I loved that he was good at the things that just really took effort, and the things that in basketball that I could kind of control. Like I could control how much effort I put in the game and how much like emphasis I put on rebounding and defending and all of that. And that's kind of what I modeled my game after. It's also kind of why I fell in love with tattoos because Dennis was covered in tattoos, and like I knew as a little kid that I loved. I thought it looked cool as hell. Like even at like 8, 9 years old, I was like, I mean, the whole wedding dress era. I was like, I didn't care about the dress. I was like, dude, he has like some sick tattoos. Like, I mean, looking back now, I don't know if they look that sick to
Yeah,
me
I
anymore,
mean,
but
yeah.
but to like an 8 or 9 year old, and like you grow up in like an evangelical Christian house, so you're not getting like MTV content or like anything like that. Like it's very kind of regulated thing. Like that's kind of like the first guy you see that's like a celebrity covered in tattoos. Who isn't like a unknown rock star to you. Um, and I loved it. So, but I mean, yeah,
Dude.
really, like I love Dennis. Like just that whole gritty, like
Mm.
get in there and just be dirty and nasty, kind of thing that he did. Um,
I always
did
appreciate.
a ton more. Yeah, yeah, did a ton more with sports. Did football in high school. Did like played on all three, the freshman, JV, and varsity teams in high school. Uh, had to finally ask them let me sit out because they were having me play 3 games a week. Like they were absolutely abusing me. I had to play three. I played on 3 different football teams. Literally, I had to play 3 games a week. And finally, I was like, "Yo, I can't do this. I'm 15.
No.
Like, save me." Um, but yeah, played middle linebacker. I mean, and that was a huge chapter of my life
Mm.
was like playing football because like a ton of like core memories made there, ton of life lessons, things that all of my little mantras and stuff that I use to kind of like, drive a lot of, what I think about and what I do, all of my football buddies that I'm still friends with remember them, early is on time is late.
Mm.
Like, those are little things that I took from football, high school football that like I'll never forget. They are just ingrained in who I am as a person. Um, and so football was a huge impact on my life there. Really absolutely loved it. And it taught me a lot of discipline and really just kind of like the mental structure and how I thought about things. I played middle linebacker. I called all the plays. My coaches knew I was smart. I was in the gifted program
Mm.
in my public school when I was younger. as an adult when I was working on myself, realized and got diagnosed with ADHD. So makes a lot of sense. Got to put all that together uh, with my side quests and where that comes from.
Hell yeah.
But like I literally called the plays, like I called the audibles when the offense shifted and stuff like that. And like I really prided myself on like understanding like what to do in those situations and the facts that like the coaches trusted me enough as like a 16-year-old kid to like make these decisions on my own without them telling me what to do. Um, and I guess it's kind of like how the way my brain works is I kind of thought about football kind of like a chess game rather than a football game,
Mhm.
because we can get deep into sports theory here and go a little bit, but it's like the quarterback on the offense, they're moving the team around and putting them in different formations, and the middle linebacker is doing the same for the defense. And I thought of it like algebra. It's kind of like one half always has to equal the other half, and so surely there has to be an equivalent offset to what you're doing over there. And so
Mhm.
like that is like what I did with football, even kind of like basketball, was just like it was through effort, it was through study, it was through like watching game film and just doing reps and memorization over and over and over. And yeah, I loved it. It was one of the greatest, chapters of like one of my most fun, memorable chapters of my life. Not greatest.
Mhm.
Definitely don't think of the glory days that way. I'm having way more fun now than I did back then. That's for sure. Um, but yeah, man, it just really kind of set me up, and I don't know, taught me a lot about effort and taught me the importance of that, and like doing one of the mantras that I took away from football was do the little things right and the big things will come easy. And I really just kind of try to apply that to really everything that I do. I talk about I probably talk about people in my everyday life about mantras way too much and overshare with them what my own personal mantras are, and uh, I got a lot of them. They're a great way to use little word tricks to keep the long term goal in mind.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
mean that's what it is. That's all a mantra is a little mnemonic to keep your head focused on something you want to be thinking about and be conscious of it.
Yeah.
So I use a lot of them.
Dude,
You should too.
yeah, if it works, it works, honestly. And like
Yeah, man.
it's crazy, like football has always been like a big part of my family. And I think my family expected me to play football, but don't tell my mom. I went to one practice and I was like, I really want to play football. And like the coach really wanted me to play. And I remember this dude got mad that he couldn't get past me. And he was like, I'm going to take your knee out.
Yeah,
And
yeah. I mean, how old were you at the time? Did we say that? Did I miss it?
I was like 15.
Okay, so this is like high school.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. All right.
And I remember they said hike, and he dove at my knee, and I jumped back.
As you should.
And when he hit the floor, I dropped my knee in his back,
As you should.
and I took my helmet off, and I smacked him in the side of the helmet with my helmet.
All right.
Hey,
Well, I
but
mean, you had a message to send and you sent it.
well, my whole thing is like, bro, if he would have done it, like I could have lost my leg, like
Oh yeah, that was yeah. You don't do
yeah,
that.
I'm like,
You don't do
and I was
that.
like, bro, this is a practice. This is to see if we get to make it onto the team.
No,
This isn't the state championship or anything of the sort.
no, no.
But they were like,
Common decency, risk reward,
yeah,
call it whatever you want. I've seen so many guys get their absolute asses chewed off for doing that to somebody in practice before, and
yeah.
yeah,
And
so
then
completely empathize with that situation.
yeah, then the coach was like, maybe this isn't for you. But I was just like, I feel like football is for me because I'm like, my brother played football. Like my great uncle, if if he were still alive, I feel like he'd have to be in like his 90s. But he was on one of the first like integrated football teams. Then
Nice.
my
Do you
dad,
remember at what level? Was it like in his grade school years or college or anything like that? Or
it would have been. He never went to college, but it would have been like
okay,
college years for
yeah,
him.
yeah. Cool,
So
nice.
my dad played collegiate football. And then he got a Super Bowl ring.
Fancy.
Like,
Oh, word.
yeah, yeah. He played for the Dolphins 72 and 73.
And is that how your life ends up in Miami?
Well, yeah, like both of my parents were born and raised there.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, okay. So he was already local to Miami. It just
yeah,
so happened that he ended up getting the play for the Miami Dolphins.
yeah. Like he,
That's super convenient and
dude.
cool as hell.
So funny. He did 4 years at the University of Miami. He was originally a wrestler, and then off season they were like, "Hey,
Wrestler, like collegiate
no, high
wrestler
school."
or WWE wrestler?
He was a wrestler in high school,
Because
and
I have a lot of friends that do that side quest.
dude, no, that's crazy. No, he was a wrestler in high school, and he was living in God, I want to say it was like Overtown, but essentially after wrestling season was over, he was like, I don't have anything to do, and the coaches were like, hey, come play football. It'll keep you out of trouble. So he was like, okay. So he played football and got a full ride scholarship to the University of Miami. And most black boys who grow up in Miami want to play for the U. Like,
Oh yeah.
especially like I remember, like just like in the '90s, like
Oh yeah.
bro, you couldn't tell. Like the U, they were like the fucking Justice League. Like everybody wanted to play for the U. But either way,
Dude, I remember who was it? I think recently I heard the Jeremy Shockey mixtape or the Jeremy Shockey like rap album that he recorded down there or the track.
yeah, when he went by J Shock,
Something like that.
yeah.
I
But
think that's the most recent the U memory from that 90s era that I remember. Yeah, they were powerhouse, dude.
but so yeah, like
But
so my dad played for the U. He played for 2 years, but got a bachelor's. Then he still had 2 more years of eligibility, so he ended up. Iowa called him and was like, "Hey, you still got 2 more years of eligibility. Do you want to come play football here?" They were like, "We'll give you a full ride scholarship." So he moved to Iowa,
so
and he was
your
one of
dad
the
wasn't too
first black
shabby at
players that
playing
they had.
ball.
And
Wow.
he
No,
went to
say that
school in
again. I was talking
Iowa,
over you.
and he ended up getting a master's degree and got drafted by the Dolphins from Iowa. So he moved back to Miami after that. Played in '72, won a Super Bowl ring, and '73 was when they went undefeated. And then he was like, "I don't want to play football anymore."
So your dad was on the 73 undefeated Dolphins
Mhm.
team?
Yeah,
Yo.
yeah,
Talk about side quests
yeah,
right there.
dude. Yeah, he like so yeah, like my great uncle played football, my dad played football, my brother played football. Two of my cousins, as a direct result of my great uncle and my dad, played, and they both got Super Bowl rings. And then, so I think people kind of either expected me to play football or to go down a similar path. But my mom was just like, no, you're not doing that. So the closest I got was that one practice that I never told her about. And then when I was in band, like I was in the marching band.
Yeah.
And then,
I joined my middle school band and then I quit when I realized I couldn't play football and be in the band.
yeah, I played the bass drum in marching band. So
Percussion.
yeah, I was on the. They gave me the biggest bass drum that they had, and was like, "You're gonna march and you're gonna hit this." And I did not even stick that through the entire football season. And then I don't know. I think I part of me kind of wished that I had played like a sport or stuck with something, because I think it would have taught me some level of like dedication and perseverance through things. But it's it's kind of something that I didn't really learn until I'd probably say like my mid to late 20s. Then it's kind of like you said you grew up evangelical Christian.
Yeah, yeah. My granddad was a pastor
Uh-huh.
in the Nazarene church. I went to a Nazarene college.
No
All my
shit.
family went to a Nazarene college. My mom, I mean, I absolutely love my mom.
Mm.
Like she's awesome. There was so much thought and planning that went into mine and my sister's education that my mom intentionally game planned to go start job hunting at a job at the college she knew that we were going to go to so that she could become an employee there and get the employee perk of free tuition for your
Dude,
children.
that's so
Because in
sick.
this random little Christian university, like private school in downtown Nashville, for their very underpaid staff that they have, one of the perks they do provide is offering free tuition for their children. And so my mom did that for us, and so I was able to not only go to school like right out of high school for free essentially, but that gave me the freedom to chase this dream with music that I wanted to chase and that we've been talking about,
Yeah.
and still really allow me to go on that side quest. Really is thanks to my mom for having that job and that foresight to get that job. And then um you know well, we talked. I probably have to give you some of my music back history to give you a little bit of perspective on me getting to we've talked about Rocketown and stuff and getting into that. Um, but yeah, the whole evangelical thing and the hardcore thing, how I actually got there, I feel like is probably some important information for you to know,
Yeah.
on the whole musical side quest thing, because it plays a lot in the tattoos and uh, tattoos, bodybuilding ish, kind of a little bit, but got into got into music like more than the average Joe, probably in middle school.
Mhm.
One of my friends at church introduced me to Norma Jean. If you
Yeah.
remember those dudes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Norma Jean
Uh,
and Mailing in the Tons of Disaster.
yeah. Super popular back then. And Christian metalcore, super huge back in that mid 2000s era. And that was my gateway drug into the underground, hardcore, heavy metal, heavy rock, deathcore, just whole underground scene that, you know, that I kind of got into. Um, and so that's really also kind of what got me exposed even deeper in the tattoos. I felt really comfortable there, understood, I want to look like these people too. Of course I want to be hanging out here. Um, and so ended up going to Trevecca, doing the whole music thing, going to shows starting in middle school at once once a week. Not in middle school that often, probably when I could drive in high school. I was talking about that little hardcore crew earlier. Um, that we had in our suburbs out here in the middle of nowhere. But I mean, that's what we did. We met up and we drove and we went to shows, and we probably had shows once or twice every single week. And so that's how involved I was. And so when I went to college, I actually dropped out of my bachelor's degree after one semester to go to that tech school I mentioned. Went and did my side quest down in South Florida, and then moved back home and started right back up and went to college and finished my bachelor, undergrad degree. Thanks to my mom
Hell yeah.
keeping that job and working there. But kind of during that same time, while I was working there, Um, you know, started like getting really deep in the tattoos, still getting into music and everything. Met my tattoo artist, Josh Brown there. Been working with him since like 2009, since I came back in 2011,
Oh
2012.
yeah.
And um, like I specifically wanted to talk about Josh because um, Josh is another like very special person to me. Um, because Josh helped me, like I mentioned, like my love for Dennis Rodman earlier, and
Mhm.
like love of tattoos and this look I had always, and how I mentioned before, like I had imposter syndrome when I was living down. Felt like I had imposter syndrome
Mhm.
when I was living down in South Florida, and it's because I never felt like my outward external appearance matched how I viewed myself internally. And it wasn't until I was able to accomplish that by the help of Josh to take these super vague ass ideas that I have and understand the style that I like and the style that he does and put together this stuff for me and help me, like when I look in the mirror, love the guy I see. And it's not about like I love what I see because people are attracted to what they are also seeing. It's I love what I see because I'm finally seeing the real me externally, and I'm being like true and authentic to myself, not just in how I'm acting and interacting with other people, but how I physically look.
Yeah.
And he like I've told him this many times before. He's one of my best bros. But yeah, it's that I wanted to bring him up specifically just to like share that with you about like the kind of impact that I recognize around me and the people that I've met on these different side quests in my life. And I want to make sure that I shout out the people worth shouting out because you've known me for years digitally,
Yeah.
and you've kind of seen me, my different progressions, my different side quests over the years. But the one thing that is consistent there, I'm not ashamed to say it at all, is like I'm not trying to be an influencer or a social media wizard or anything, but
Mhm.
like if you're my friend and you're great at what you do, like I'm gonna shout for you. Like I shout for the people who are deserve to be shouted for. It doesn't matter if you know you're a band with 10,000 people or Joe Buck, who's putting together Rite of Passage Oats, which, by the way, you did not even mention, offer shipping. And the reason I know this is because I placed my order yesterday morning. So I will be having 3 orders of Rite of Oats Passage oatmeal, overnight oats, showing up to my house very soon, hopefully.
Yeah.
So, yeah, make sure you update that ad and get your mention
Yeah,
that
dude.
ad that we put in here to include some shipping in there for Rite of Passage
Dude,
Oats.
it's crazy. Like the shipping last time I shipped, I swear to God, it was the strangest thing.
So I might be the second person you've
No,
ever shipped to.
no, you'll be like the fifth, right? So the last time I shipped one to I think Ohio and one to Vegas.
Yeah.
The one that went to Vegas, UPS was like, "Hey, the box is empty." And I was like, "Wait, what do you all mean the box is empty?" And they were like, "Yeah, someone opened your box." And I was like, "What the fuck does that mean?" And they were like, "We don't know. We're just going to refund you the money." And then the other one, it was something similar where like I froze everything, I like wrapped them all up, made sure everything was fine, and then the person who I was shipping to was like, "Hey, I never got him." And I checked the tracking, and it was like, oh no, sorry, the first one showed up empty, like the box was empty. So the second one, they got damaged in transportation, so they just threw the box away.
Oh, yeah, that's smart.
Yeah,
Sure.
so I was
Yeah.
like, oh, that fucking sucks. But no,
Because it was perishable.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 So with yours, I ended up like making the system better, and I have everything that I need to do it. So no need for you to worry. But
Well, if you need to modify or cancel any order,
no,
you let me know. I am
no,
happy to support the boy. I was actually just very curious and interested to try it because with doing like the whole eating thing that I
yeah,
do with bodybuilding, like I eat a lot of oatmeal and I eat a lot of fruit.
dude. So
So that's like
actually,
a lot of the stuff you have put together on there. Checks the boxes for me. So it's I saw all the add-ons that you can put in there.
yeah,
I didn't go for any of those. I wanted to just try your recipe how you have it straight up because I trust your flavor over me bastardizing it with my own choices. It's kind of the
dude,
same way I think about my tattoos is
yeah,
like you're the artist. I'm not going to tell you how to do your job. So here's my general idea, but if that's what I give you, I'm accepting whatever you put out unless you just completely miss the mark because well,
nah,
it's like I'm buying a piece of artwork at this
yeah,
point. I'm shopping because I like the artist and I like what they put out. I'm not buying because I want to custom order a piece of commissioned artwork.
mhm,
Like that's not how I think about it. I would much rather support the artist and look at their flash and see what gets them excited and what is motivating them to do a good job. No artist out there is ever going to be as passionate or excited to work on something that doesn't interest them at all. And that's kind of the way I think about any artist who I'm trusting to put permanent artwork on me.
dude. So what you said as far as like not feeling like your true self until you started getting your tattoos to match externally how you felt internally, almost exactly how it was for me. Like I've always loved tattoos, never knew what I wanted to get, and I told myself I was not going to get a tattoo until like I knew. And dude, I remember like 14, 15, seeing my friends getting tattoos because everybody's cousin had a tattoo gun and just got out of prison.
I have never received a kitchen tattoo, but I have witnessed and been the safety advisor in a kitchen tattoo to make sure that there was no transmission of bloodborne diseases.
I got offered, it wasn't a kitchen tattoo, it was a ice cream parlor stockroom tattoo.
Ooh.
Yeah, this dude was crushing whippets and was like, I'm
I might I don't have you on whippets, but our guy was ripping a 6 foot tall bong
nah.
that he referred to as Barack Obanga.
First of all, fantastic name. Second of all, no thank you. This dude was, it was like my good friend's boyfriend at the time's coworker. And this dude was like getting fucked up on whippets. And it was like, yeah, I bought this tattoo gun on Amazon. You want a tattoo, man? I was like, I don't think I do. Like,
Probably a good call. Probably a good
probably.
call.
And I was
The
just,
same buddy who received that tattoo in a kitchen might also at one point applied some to himself as well. So
you got to at that point.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
I remember so many people from like the hardcore scene who were just getting tattoo guns and tattooing themselves.
Oh yeah, because we thought we were all going to make it big.
Oh,
Everybody thought that they were going to nail it in their bedroom, and order whatever the fake pig skin or
mm,
the calf skin or whatever it was that you were practicing on, or they were getting grapefruits and
mm,
mangoes and oranges and stuff and tattooing those. But I mean, you know,
yeah,
my wife gets tattooed by a good buddy of mine, Blake, who actually used to be in that little hardcore crew. We met at high school.
yeah.
I was thinking about having this interview with you earlier, and it made me realize that I'm way closer to this guy than I realized over the past like 2 decades, man. So
Mm-hmm.
Blake, I'm going to talk to you soon.
Hell yeah.
Um, but he's he's been working on my wife getting her first tattoo pieces. She's doing like black and gray realism stuff.
Hmm.
Um, and on her, like, she's doing like a whole black and gray realism leg sleeve. Uh, Blake crushes that stuff. That's definitely his style. My style is,
Yeah.
more traditional, neo traditional patchwork kind of stuff.
Speaking of black and white, like realism, did you ever know Fame? Like when you were in South Florida, Fame Uno,
Who?
Fame Uno.
I don't think so, but I found them in 2 seconds, so I'm looking at their artwork right now.
Uh huh.
Is that your artist?
No, no, no. He was in the hardcore scene for like a minute in South Florida, and he was one of those people that started off doing kitchen tattoos,
Uh huh.
and now he like travels to other
He
countries.
made it.
Dude,
Oh, he looks. I'm looking at some of the artwork on here. Like, he is
yeah.
super good realism, super
Uh-huh.
good black and gray, super good color realism. Tons of different like content. Because that's the thing. Like, I've seen guys who are very good at realism, but they're only good at a certain type of content in realism.
Yeah.
And, or they have like one special subgenre in realism that they're very good at, whether it's like surrealism or anime or, that kind of stuff. But the realism guys that can cover a lot of bases there, I got a lot of respect for them for
Yeah.
sure.
Fame does it all, but yeah, I remember he started off doing he was on house arrest and started off doing kitchen tattoos.
Hell yeah.
And I'm so proud of that dude to see how far he's gone. But
Hell yeah.
yeah,
Give me up, Fame.
but either way, like your tattoo journey is like pretty similar to mine. Granted, I started way after because you started high school.
Oh yeah, like the week after high school football ended, and I was already 18 years old. I was like in the shop, 100%. I was like, I'm not gonna get a tattoo and then immediately ruin it. Like, you know, but like, practicing football,
Mhm.
doing all that contact or whatever, rolling around on the ground, getting sweaty, getting scratched up, whatever. But literally, like the week after my last football game, my appointment was already on the books. I was
Hell
there, I
yeah.
was gone. Um, but like, did the whole rib piece. I've talked about like my evangelical childhood, so like
Mhm.
got the first like the lion head Christianity symbolism, like realism piece on my side, talking about realism. Um, the first artist working on that, she's a great realism artist. I haven't really stayed connected with her. Her name was Lo. I can't remember her last name. We could probably find her on Instagram someday, one day. Um, but then really from there is like where I hooked up with Josh, who I was talking about earlier, and he worked at the same shop as her,
Mhm.
and we had a lot of mutual friends that I'd met through, the hardcore scene here in Nashville, and I just kind of became a shop rat in that period of my life, just hanging out, like, being a lurker at the shop while my buddies were getting tattooed, hanging around the shop afterwards, or before going to a show or something that night, we'd
Mhm.
be at the tattoo shop in the afternoon, just hanging around, just dicking around, not doing much of anything. Um, but yeah, that's kind of worked with Josh, and got into all that, and I've been working with him ever since. He splits time between here and Arizona,
Nice.
so I'll be getting some more work done on him when he's back for the spring and summertime.
Hell yeah.
So he picks the comfortable seasons to be in both of those locations.
Dude, yeah. I mean, as you should. It's like if you have the capability of traveling in between two places, you choose the one that has the better weather every single time.
Oh yeah, 100%.
But so like for me, when I started mine, like I said, I never knew what I wanted. So it was actually while I was living in Orlando, I started with a septum piercing.
Yep, had that. Had
Yeah,
that.
and like I remember I was talking about it, talking about it, talking about it, and my roommates knew like I was notorious for just saying I was going to do something and then never doing it. You know, I didn't have that constitution to stay serious about something. And one night I was like, okay, I'm gonna go get my septum pierced. And they were like, yeah, okay, whatever. And they just kept playing Call of Duty. And I went to a shop and I got it done. And I came back and they were like, we thought you were gonna do it. And I was like, I did do it. And I showed them and they were like, that's fake. That's fake. And didn't believe me. And
No.
that night, I remember very first night with it in, punched myself in the face in my sleep.
Oh, I was worried that there was going to be some testing of it.
Oh no, no, I don't. I
Oh,
don't, I
good.
don't let people put their hands in my face like that. If you're not my barber or my girlfriend, no, don't ever.
During this time period, was your piercing straight? Was it straight and true, or
No,
did was it cattywampus?
it was always 9 times out of 10. It was cattywampus. Like,
No, like the actual, like it's like the
oh,
the the actual
oh no,
pierce
it
itself.
was it was
Because
straight.
mine, oh no, mine was like skewed, and it was like it was off center, not from a forward view, but if you looked at me from like a side
I
profile,
can see
you
it.
could see how the needle had been pushed through from like back to front, through like right to left. And so, yeah, it was just like cocked
Yeah.
all the time.
Uh,
It was so painful.
nah, dude. Like,
That was one of the most painful piercings I had. Because I got the battle scars, dude. I got the snake bite battle
ah,
scars. I got the stretched ear battle scars. They actually did really good of oh my gosh, excuse me. They did really good of like stretching back up and just like they haven't closed on their own,
yeah.
but at one point they were stretched out to like 5/8 of an
No
inch,
shit.
and that they've closed up pretty much where they're like tight, real tight. Pause.
Dude, I never got my ears pierced. I always wanted them pierced because I always wanted plugs. Never did it. Got my septum ring, and then I had it in for God. I want to say like it had to have been like 7 years because I had it the
Mm.
entire time I was in Orlando, and then I had it when I lived in Alaska, and then I lost one of the balls when I was living in Alaska, and because of that, it would always like hang on the inside, and it was like scratching up the inside
Could
of
you
my
get into the threads? Were
dude.
the threads getting in there?
Yeah, it
Oh,
was like every
oh,
every time it would happen because like I couldn't have it out at work. I was also
right,
working as a chef, so I
right.
had to have it flipped up. So because of that, it would start to turn inside my nose from the weight,
Mm-hmm.
and it
Mm-hmm.
would scrape up the inside of my nose. So I was having nosebleeds all the time. So they thought I was doing coke, and I'm like, bro, I don't touch that shit.
And you're in a hot ass kitchen, so you're sweating all the time.
Yeah.
You probably got the sweat rag right over your shoulder.
Mm.
I didn't interrupt you when you were going into it, by the way. My another side quest that I can share with you on. Um, I've pretty much worked in every station in a sit down restaurant that an uneducated line cook can work at.
Hey.
So I have worked open fire grills, flat top grills, fryer stations, saute stations,
Mhm.
prep stations, cold salad stations, raw oyster shucking. I have done fry houses. I've worked at steak houses. I've worked at pizza joints where I did 100% fresh in-house, made from scratch
Yep.
dough sauce pizza. Um, I have buddies who are super close friends of mine that I've been with. A part of my huge group of friends that I'd have is super rare. That have all been friends for about 2 decades now, but they own over a couple handful of restaurants, and so they employed me, as part of my college career when I came back from my South Florida side quest,
Mhm.
and so. thankfully, that is the life that's how I supported myself,
Yeah.
basically through college was, working in restaurants and just finding the places that didn't suck and could work with my availability,
Yeah.
and that I could at least make minimum wage.
Yeah.
So
Dude, yeah, like
So I love so I say all that to qualify myself enough to say that I love hearing about your culinary background
yeah.
because I can empathize with it a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe not the high dining side of things and I mean I watched The Bear if
Yeah.
that counts. Um,
I mean,
but it's like that kind of shit's cool to me. Like food, art, tattooing, music, all of those things kind of go together. They're create like it's a creative expression,
mhm.
that you as a chef or someone who's preparing a meal or a dish is putting together. If you're truly, passionate about it and thinking about it and being intentional about what you're doing there. Putting a meal together is different than putting some food on a plate.
Mhm.
And I have a lot of respect for it because I see the passion and the detail and intentionality that kind of goes into that stuff. And that's the kind of culinary experience that gets me excited, not the one where we're just smashing the kitchen sink into a burrito.